My Little Universe written by equestrian Karen Daring Do, and the Aqua gem within the beach house, back in Beach City, Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl all weren't having the best time ever. Since Steven and Lapis both ended up disappearing thanks to the wacky key, the trio had tried to figure out where they'd gone. They tried everywhere they knew, looking high and low, up and down, here, there, and everywhere, but nothing. No matter where they went through in their warp pad, there was no trace of Steven Universe or Lapis Lazuli anywhere they went to. It was starting to get discouraging for the three. At the moment, they were back in the main living room, Amethyst laying on the couch, looking over the odd key as Pearl paced around, trying to think on where they'd gone. Garnet was also trying to think, the tall women over in the kitchen. Oh dear, where could they've gone to? Pearl worried, trying to go through every option they've done. We've tried every place the warp pad could bring us. There's no sign of them anywhere, Garnet reminded. While they tried to think over, Amethyst herself was a bit preoccupied with the key. How could a key, with no gemstone on it, possibly just come to life and send the two off like that? As the purple gem looked it over, a bit bored, suddenly, the handle's face began to alter and morph right in front of her. The face of Steven turned into the face of some horned/antlered goat. The new face chuckled and winked at her, making Amethyst drop the key right away. What's wrong? Think the key turned on, or something, Amethyst replied, pointing to the key, as it began to suddenly bounce around the room some more. The key suddenly spun in midair, and the three hoped that it'll open up that same portal again. Instead, something quickly popped out, landing on Steven's bed. The creature on the bed casually settled down on the bed, the key landing on Amethyst's head, as it somehow had a root beer float in his lion paw. He took a good sip from it before looking to them. Discord! All three gasped. Only Amethyst was smiling though as they said that, as Discord chuckled, looking down at them like a cat would from above. Ah, a fine morning for a drink, isn't it? Discord asked, sipping up the last of the root beer before it disappeared from his hand. What are you doing here? We thought you'd gone home, Garnet pointed out, as Discord comfortably hovered around the room. Just thought I'd visit for a little while. Any luck finding your boy? Seems he's been gone for a while, Discord said, his smile still on his face as he asked. Pearl suddenly had her spear in his face. The fact that Steven was gone was bad enough, any snotty Draconequus wasn't gonna make it easier. How'd you know about that? Where is he? Pearl demanded. Discord just grabbed the spear with his talon, and used it to pick his teeth. Pearl's face sums up her annoyance with the Draconequus, as Discord ate the spear like a piece of celery. Now, must we jump to conclusions, sweet Pearl? It wasn't my decision to get Steven and his buddy off from your little world, and into another. He must be having the time of his life while you three worry your heads, Discord said. Then, Garnet went over to him. Discord, he's been gone for 4 days straight, and you still wonder why? We know why he's gone. Oh, do you? Even after you threatened to take away a new friend, as Crystal Gem leader, he suddenly makes himself a Crystal Gem clothes, matching Pearl? I didn't think you put yourself over him, now would you? That's a lie, I put the team over me. Oh, my apologies, of course you threatened to take Lapis Lazuli away from little Steven, and scare him out of mind, for the sake of keeping your team together. Obviously, Discord, despite his mocks, was getting to his point quickly. Garnet sighed roughly, but kept firm to her own idea. Garnet tried to take the mirror away from Steven, and that mirror turned out to be another gem, who must be what Discord meant as Lapis Lazuli. Still, Garnet didn't make any other comeback to the Draconequus after thinking it over. Discord happily settled down on the couch, next to Amethyst herself. Discord's tail turned into a hand, and took the key off Amethyst's head. See, the lad left his trinket behind, Discord commented, rolling the key down his tail until he caught it with his talon. You know about the key too? Course I do, and a fancy key at that. Too bad he didn't go with it. Oh well, Discord sighed, him flicking the key over to Pearl, which she tried to catch. However, it ended up on her nose, spinning around like it got a ringer. Amethyst laughed, as Pearl got the key off. I assume you at least know something on his whereabouts? Pearl asked, not looking at him. Perhaps, but I think you gems deserve some relaxing time. How about a movie, eh? Discord offered. Ha! Discord suddenly popped up on Steven's bed again, the time Amethyst hopping up there from the couch. Pearl and Garnet looked over to him, Pearl going halfway up the stairs before Discord conjured up his movie idea in the form of a VHS tape and a plastic case with its own cover art. It showed Steven on the right, Lapis on the left, and some sort of Pegasus in the middle. Whoa, cool, what's the movie? Amethyst asked. Amethyst, Pearl retorted. Before she spoke though, Discord happily answered her, bringing the tape over for Amethyst to read. Garnet followed Pearl up to the bedroom, as Amethyst read out the cover art title, Daring Do and the Aqua Gem? A little featurette I got floating around. It's a sweet little movie, you're going to love it, Discord said, conjuring up a VHS player under the TV, and popping the VHS tape inside. Discord, we don't have time to dash, Garnet tried to say, but Discord suddenly was in her face, a taloned finger covering her mouth. SSSHHH. It about to start, Discord insisted. Pearl and Garnet weren't too sure, but Amethyst was up for it. Discord settled by her, conjuring up some popcorn as a snack. He also conjured up a second popcorn bucket for Amethyst to have some food, as the little feature-length movie began to play out. Pearl and Garnet weren't too sure on what else to do, so they sat down nearby as it began to play. Equestria was going through a well day, as per usual. Yet, things had been a bit different since a duo of creatures made their appearance within Ponyville. Some bit of gossip had gone around amongst the pony residents, but they didn't damper the newcomers at all. In fact, the gossip didn't really come across as harmful, if not annoying. The news had especially gone up to the Pegasus nearby Ponyville, as one of them was constantly seen flying around the place. And today, it was no different. The flyer, Lapis Lazuli, was happily enjoying the flight she had regained from 4 days prior. She was extremely giddy about being freed from the mirror alone, not to mention regaining her water wings overall. And boy, did Lapis fly quick. Lapis Lazuli flew with such grace, it was almost like she was made from the air around her, flying around, under, over, and through the clouds above Ponyville. Her happy flight hadn't gone unnoticed, as many of the ponies on the ground were watching her go by above them. The water in her wings gave off a unique shadow to the ground, while the regular shadow of her body was established. The water wings gave off a sparkling blue reflection down below, giving off the idea of her wings being made of pure magic. The big smile on her face was enough to tell Pony that she loved flying, and enjoyed every second of it. Sure, a few days might help some pony get used to it, but given that she was trapped in a mirror for who knew how long, this was a great relief for her. Despite her seemingly directionless flying, Lapis did have somewhere to get to, as she ventured near Ponyville. However, as she did start to get a bit closer to the ground, something suddenly zoomed by her. It was enough to get her spinning, but she got herself straight, as she saw a particular rainbow Pegasus flying around, excited as ever. 4 more months, 4 more months, 4 more months. Rainbow beamed, flying around Lapis for a bit, until she ended up in front of Lapis' face. I bet you're excited, huh? However, Lapis didn't really have any real clue about what to be excited about, yet she smiled anyway. Yeah, about what? Lapis asked. Because the next Daring Do book is coming out exactly 4 months from today. That's how exciting it is. So what amazing, incredible, awesome adventure do you think Daring Do will have in her next book, huh? Rainbow asked. Lapis Lazuli wasn't entirely sure what Daring Do was, or what was the big hubbub about it. Sure, she'd been around for a while, but it wasn't long enough to know about this great Daring Do. Still, Lapis nodded after a bit. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going over to Twilight's house. Wanna come? Lapis asked. Oh, sure, let's go, Rainbow said. In her excited state, the Pegasus already flew right off, Lapis following behind her as best she could. Even if Lapis was fast at her flying, the Rainbow Pegasus's speed easily outmatched her by a mile. Still, Lapis kept good pace with the Pegasus as they continued off down to Ponyville. Soon, the two arrived over by Twilight's library/treehouse, Rainbow arriving first. The happy Pegasus went on and opened the door. Heya, Twilight. Aren't you excited that dash before Rainbow could finish, suddenly a party horn was blown in her face. Turned out, there's a party going on in Twilight's house, including the rest of the main 6, and Steven Universe himself. Lapis Lazuli joined up soon after that, having to lean a little bit to get inside. The ponies and Steven were wearing a sort of party hat on. Rainbow didn't know there was a party going on, along with Lapis. Hey, Lapis. Hi Rainbow. Steven smiled, wearing a party hat much like the others. What's everybody doing here? Lapis asked. We're having a holiday party. Pinky replied, blowing the party horn again. So what holiday would today be? Rainbow asked. National Random Holiday Party Day. Woo-hoo, Pinky replied. Well, it seemed pretty expected from the National Party Pony of Ponyville. Lapis smiled at all of the joy going on around her, as Rarity went over to them both, with a cup of punch levitated in front of her. I've never heard of it either. Rarity sipped from the cup. But the punch is quite tasty. You might say the secret ingredient is a secret, Pinky said, whispering loudly at the last part to Rainbow Dash. While this was going on, those that were watching back at Beach City Beach House were simply shocked to see who was there. Still in Steven's room, Garnet, Pearl, and Amethyst locked their eyes on the screen, seeing Steven having fun at the party. It did seem that Lapis was happy to see him, not to mention that Steven was doing all right with his pony friends. Still, the fact that Steven was there to begin with was enough to cause surprise. Steven, he's all right, Pearl gasped. Discord, you have to get us to Steven, Garnet demanded. However, Discord himself wasn't in the mood for just getting himself to go just yet. But our movie just started, Discord protested, flicking a piece of popcorn into his mouth. Garnet groaned, and got her attention back to the TV. How come nobody bothered to invite me? Rainbow protested. I came to invite you personally, but it seems you were too busy reading the last Daring Do book for the 12th time, Applejack said. Rainbow didn't realize that exactly. Yeah, well, in 4 months, I'll be able to read the next one, Rainbow said, as she walked in. Lapis happily went over to Steven. Pinky popped up above her, and got her own party hat on her head, looking like a blue top hat, with waves of water along the rim. Steven's party hat looked like a top hat, lined with cute black cat faces. Had things been going all right, Steven? Lapis asked, as Steven happily helped himself to some of Pinky's baked cupcakes. Yeah, Twilight let me stay with her for a while. Want one? Steven asked, kindly handing Lapis one of the cupcakes. Lapis was a little unsure about the food choice, as she just stared at the cupcake. After a little bit, Steven looked a bit confused. What's the matter? Well, Steven, gems don't really eat food to live. I never exactly had to eat anything. Steven gasped. She never had a cupcake before? That is unacceptable. Steven got Lapis' hand, and placed the cupcake in her palm. Lapis was still a bit frazzled by Steven's reaction, that how humans gems on Earth react to such news? Perhaps it was just Steven, being so young. You have to try it. They're super yummy. Steven insisted, taking a bite out of his own cupcake, as Lapis looked to her cupcake. Being a gem, she never had to eat anything, as she said. That didn't mean she couldn't eat, period. So, with Steven's encouragement, Lapis opened her mouth, and took a good bite of the treat. The taste of sugar, dough, frosting, and sprinkles went right onto her tongue, with a hint of apple in it. Her eyes widened, the taste was fantastic. While it did feel weird after she swallowed, feeling it going down her throat, but the taste was worth it. And Steven Universe could tell she enjoyed it. That was incredible, Lapis gasped, licking her lips of some of the frosting that had gotten on her face. Steven smiled, but before they could say anything, the sound of spewing from a rainbow Pegasus 2 more months. I've been waiting so long already. I don't think I can take another 2 months. I'll never make it. Rainbow gasped, ending up on the floor in defeat. Yeah, I can vouch for that, commented Fluttershy, as Pinky kindly included a pink party hat, and got it on Rainbow Dash's head. Rainbow got up, and looked at the pony responsible for the bad news, Twilight. Did they give a reason? The publisher just said author A.K. Yearling won't be able to finish the book for another 2 months. Cupcakes? Twilight levitated the batch of cupcakes to Rainbow Dash, but the Pegasus didn't feel any better about the result. How could you possibly know that before me? I'm the series' biggest fan. I'm just as big a fan as you. In fact, I'm the one who first introduced you to the books, remember? Twilight reminded. Oh, right, A.K. Yearling just might be my favorite author. I know everything about her. Where she grew up, where she studied literature, where she wrote the first Daring Do book dash where she lives. Rainbow interrupted. No, though I could probably find out somehow. Why? Twilight asked. That's when Rainbow started up. Don't you get it? The new book is obviously delayed because she needs help dealing with whatever everyday nonsense is distracting her from spending her every living breathing second writing. So I mean, fans like me, can get to read the new book ASAP. Think about it. We could help her with her laundry, buy her groceries, cooking her meals, whatever. Now, who wouldn't appreciate that? Obviously, this Pegasus just wants that book, yet her idea of how to get it didn't seem too harmful, if not a bit overdoing it. I don't know. What she probably wants most of all is respect for her privacy, Lapis pointed out, finally joining in on their conversation. She can always just say no. I suppose you're right. Of course I am. So, how's about getting that address? Sometime later, the main six ended up going through the forest again, Stephen in the front while Lapis walked alongside. It was a bit unsure if they were doing right or wrong by going to AK Yearling's house to do this. Lapis and Twilight both knew that the main reason Rainbow suggested this was to get her hooves on the newest edition for her Daring Do collection, no doubt about that. You see what I mean? Why would she live in this remote part of Equestria except to keep folks from intruding on her privacy? We should respect Dash. I think I spotted the house. We're super close. This way. Rainbow interrupted, getting everyone but Lapis and Twilight to rush on ahead. Seemed they found one thing in common, respect over others' choices. The rest knew they wanted to help, but this wasn't really the best option Enipony would just choose off the bat. When Twilight and Lapis caught up with them, they looked on ahead through the forest and saw what seemed to be an old cottage, but looked a bit beat up. Apparently some pony has intruded on her privacy pretty hard already, Rainbow commented, flying over to the cottage. The other followed. As Rainbow knocked on the door with her hoof, the door simply fell over. Upon looking in, the home was simply a mess. Seemed whoever AK Yearling wasn't the best housekeeper. A ton of objects were sprawled out on the floor, from pieces of paper to a knocked-over shelf. Hooey, some pony really trashed this place, Applejack pointed out, as the group went in. Pinky went in and thought it over. Maybe AK Yearling's just a terrible, horrible, unbelievable slob. Pinky suggested, gathering up a bunch of the pile and making it into a tower, her at the top. Lapis went over to Rarity, who was looking into a shattered mirror. A worried thought crossed the unicorn's mind, as she looked back to the others. I hope AK Yearling's alright. Rarity wondered. Oh no, what if something terrible happened to her? Added Stephen, who was over by Twilight. Rainbow got herself out of a junk pile in the middle of the room. I know. There might be no more books. An annoyed glare got to Rainbow from Applejack and Lapis. But, of course, I'd be worried about her, too. Before Enipony, or anybody, could say anything else, suddenly some pony was at the entrance. Upon looking, a mare with tan fur came in. She had on a purple robe, with a gray hat and red reading glasses. What are you all doing here? She asked, seeing the state of her house. KK. Yearling. Rainbow said aloud, feeling very excited to see the author of the Daring Do book standing in front of her. However, after looking around, AK Yearling was more worried over what happened to her ransacked house. What have you done to my house? She asked firmly, as she tried frantically to look around. First she ran to Applejack, who was standing on a rug. We didn't do this, Ms. Yearling. Whoa. Applejack was a bit cut off when AK Yearling pulled the rug from under her hooves, but finding nothing as she continued. We're awfully glad to see you're alright, Twilight remarked, though not getting a reply from AK Yearling as she looked around. Rainbow Dash stood by her desk, acting a little more casual than the others were. Okay, clearly this isn't the best time, but I just gotta say how much we all really love your books, Rainbow Dash complimented, laughing a little nervously. Still, AK Yearling wasn't listening. Instead, she found that Rainbow Dash was standing on one of her books, as she quickly pulled it out from under her, making the Pegasus fall back onto some more of the junk in the room. Soon after, AK Yearling placed the book onto her desk, and quickly opened it. A relieved look was on her face, though none of the others had enough time to see what it was that she was worried about. It's safe, AK Yearling told herself, before turning to confront the rest of the group. Great. Maybe now would be a good time for me to ask her how we can help move the new book along a little faster. Chop chop. Rainbow anticipated. That just made AK Yearling annoyed, much like Twilight and Lapis. Only way you ponies, see Stephen and Lapis, and, whatever you two are, can help now is get out. I've got enough on my hooves, and I don't want any visitors, AK Yearling firmly stated. The others thought it over and began heading out. Twilight had to use her magic to bring Rainbow Dash back outside. That pretty much got them nowhere, and for Rainbow, no exact book to speak of. What did I say, Rainbow? We should respect her wishes, and just go back to Ponyville, Twilight instructed. However, as they all turned to go, Stephen took a look back to AK Yearling's cottage, and noticed something a bit odd. On her roof, there was 3 rugged-looking stallions that were by the top of a roof window. One of the ponies, the largest one, was slight blue with a orange, short mane with a orange beard to accommodate. He also had a cut along his left eye. Another one of the stallions looked like he had a 5 o'clock shadow for a beard, just visible past his tan fur and brown short mane and tail. The guy had on a black hat and collar vest. The third, and smallest one, had white fur accompanied by a black mane and tail, with black shades. The group watched as all three went back into the home from the roof, immediate worried for AK Yearling, at least Rainbow Dash was. Inside, AK Yearling was looking at her cracked mirror, when suddenly she noticed the three stallions approaching from behind her. When she turned, she quickly noticed that she was surrounded by all three. No way out, nowhere to hide, no point to talk it out here. The others outside looked in from the window, as AK Yearling kept her cool. I don't want any visitors, right now. Then hoof over the ring, and we'll kindly leave, one of the thugs, the largest one, suggested, a hoof waiting for the item in question. What ring? I'm not ready for that kind of commitment. Don't play dumb, you have that ring, where is it? We saw you take it, he asked, getting a bit testy as he walked over to AK Yearling. As he did, it distracted her while the smallest browsed through the stuff all over the ground. You must be confusing me for some other pony, AK Yearling insisted, remaining calm, yet distracted by the blue stallion. Only thing you're confusing is yourself. There's three of us, and one of you. Now, I'll tell you for the last time, hoof over that ring. Before AK Yearling could reply that time, the ponies from outside then saw the white stallion find that book. AK Yearling looked in. The stallion quietly reached in, but before he could do anything, "Hey!" Rainbow yelled. That got AK Yearling's attention, as the stallion quickly pulled out something from the book. However, AK Yearling rushed forward, and tackled the stallion to the wooden floor, the object flying in the air. AK leaped up and grabbed it with her teeth. Upon doing so, the purple robe and hat flew off her head, as she landed. What was revealed made Rainbow and Twilight simply speechless. AK Yearling. Well, she wasn't just AK Yearling. Her mane was of shades of gray and black, styled much like Rainbow Dash's own. She had on a vest of navy green, with an explorer's sun hat. Twilight and Rainbow looked to each other in complete shock. AK Yearling is Daring Do. Indeed, the mare in between the fight with the thugs was indeed Daring Do. The same character from the Daring Do books, and the writer that brought it to life, were one of the same. Once more, that ring the thugs were talking about was a huge golden one, large enough to be considered more of a necklace than just a ring. Daring Do, with the ring on her wing, got into battle position. Outside, the ponies watching were still shocked that they were seeing the same exact character standing right in front of them. AK Yearling and Daring Do are one and the same. My mind is officially blown, exclaimed Twilight. Ah, come on, I knew it all along, added Rainbow Dash. They all knew that was a lie. However, seconds after, the fight quickly began as the thugs tried to take the ring away from Daring Do. Even with 3-on-1, Daring Do was holding up surprisingly well. Daring Do easily dodged, weaved, and beat off any thug who tried her. However, outside, they were getting worried over seeing Daring Do like this. Almost blindly, Rainbow Dash and Steven tried to get in there, but before they got inside, another large stallion got in their way, and rammed them away. This stallion had similar brown fur, and black hair which looked a bit wavy. He also had a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow for a beard, and had a tan shirt with a polka-dotted red and white undertie. His cutie mark was that of a pony gold skull, one eye socket having a ruby within it. The sight of the ruby on the stallion's flank made Lapis and Steven a bit troubled. Sure, Rarity had 3 diamonds on her flank, but at least she was a friend. Ouch! Steven yelled upon landing. Pardon me, he said smugly. Pardon yourself. Rainbow snapped, trying to fly in again. However, this stallion wasn't giving her the chance. At one point, Rainbow made a strong battle cry, flying at him as fast as she could. All the stallion had to do was lay down for a brief moment, and Rainbow Dash flew right into Daring Do's house. If that wasn't bad enough, the Pegasus smashed right into her hero, both mares hitting the wall hard. The ring went off flying, and the stallion in charge, apparently, caught it around his neck. A classic ringer. Thank you. Hench ponies, let's go. Before any pony realized it, the 4 were gone. They'd go after them, but they had bigger issues. Rainbow Dash and Daring Do. Upon looking in, the 2 had gotten up, but Daring Do had her front leg brutally damaged during Rainbow's tackle. Rainbow was fine, if not bruised. Steven, worried, went right over to Daring Do. You okay? Steven gasped, trying to help. However, Daring Do whacked Steven's hand away from her. I got this, Daring Do replied. Hobbling a little bit, she got some medical bands, and quickly wrapped them around her injured leg with her mouth. Daring Do got up, a bit laggy on her hoof, but able to stand. He was just trying to help, Ms. Do, Lapis replied. Daring Do doesn't need help. She handles her business herself, Daring Do replied, getting outside and flying away. The others got out there and watched her fly off. Rainbow was about to fly after her, but Twilight stopped her. You heard her. She says she works alone, Twilight reminded. Rainbow turned back to her in worry, something Lapis and Steven hadn't seen her act as of yet. How can we just stand by and do nothing? You know what's at stake here. Ahuitzotl has sought control of the Tenochtitlan Basin since Book 3, and that's one of the rings he's been trying to gather. Wait, who's dash true, but in Book 4, she defeated Ahuitzotl and secured control of the Amulet of Atonement, dispelling the dark magic of the Quetzalcoatl Empress, and thus protecting the basin with the Radiant Shield of Razdan. What are you dash, but the Radiant Shield of Razdan is vulnerable to the dark enchantment of the Rings of Scorchero. Guys! Steven yelled, getting in between them. The two remembered that Steven and Lapis, not to mention the rest of the ponies, weren't sure what the hey they were talking about. After things had calmed down, Rarity then went over to them both. Thank you, Steven. Now, as much as we love to hear your, knowledge on the books, Ms. Dew is still off on her own, after 3 ruffians with that golden ring, Rarity reminded. The Alicorn and Pegasus knew she was right. We got to help Daring Do retrieve the ring for safekeeping before it's too late, Rainbow announced, flying above the ground, ready to go. Okay, but sounds to me like we're in over our heads. We're going to need a carefully thought out plan dash I'm coming, Daring Do. Rainbow yelled, flying off ahead. It was a little too late for them to stop Rainbow, but Lapis Lazuli did try to fly after her. That's not a plan. Later on that night, the Rainbow Pegasus was really far ahead from the herd, still trying to look for Daring Do. For an injured Pegasus, she sure can fly off quickly, and pretty far. However, wherever those other thugs went off to must have went very fast themselves. While flying through the forest, the Pegasus kept looking down on the ground in order to find Daring Do. Eventually, the Pegasus ended up looking down, and noticed a line of smoke ahead of her. Looking at it more closely, she noticed the same 4 thugs with the ring and hoof, having an early dinner. There they are, those thugs. Now where? Bingo! Soon, Rainbow did see Daring Do, sneaking off nearby on the ground. Rainbow tried to relax, though her fangirl side was getting to her, as she neared her hero from above. As she landed nearby her, Rainbow tried to think over what to exactly do. However, someone else ended up landing nearby. Rainbow turned around, and noticed that it was Lapis Lazuli, the only one who caught up with her. Upon landing, Lapis retracted her wings into her gemstone. Lapis? What are you doing, Rainbow? You left us dash. Rainbow noticed she was a bit louder than she'd liked, so she covered her mouth with her hoof. She didn't want to end up in any more trouble, or get some pony into trouble again. Quiet, I'm trying to help Daring Do, Rainbow said quietly, though she didn't have a clue how to approach it. Meanwhile, suddenly the mare in question got her own plan in motion, as she walked over to the thugs that stole the ring. As she neared, the thugs saw her, yet she dropped a large bag of bits in front of them. As for how she looked, she had a beard of leaves and mud. Dumb? Yes, but it worked. I have been led to believe you have in your possession an item of significant importance that might be for sale, Daring Do said, trying to sound like an old stallion instead of a mare. Lapis and Rainbow watched from the bushes as the events unfolded in front of them. The thugs looked down at the bag of bits with wide smiles. Oh, well, I did have another buyer lined up, but he's not here, so, sounds like we have a deal. Before they could take the bag of bits and give Daring Do back the ring, every pony was startled when they heard a huge blood-curdling roar. Appearing from the bushes away from Rainbow and Lapis, a giant creature suddenly appeared, freaking out the thugs into running away, the ring landing on the floor. The creature had an elongated dog-like head, the eyes placed near the nose. It had ape-like arms and hands, yet also dog-like back legs and feet, with a long tail with an extra hand attached at the tip. The fur was a dark blue except for the belly, chest, and lower jaws, which were a lighter blue. It had golden jewelry lining the neck, forearms, and tail, with a piercing on its right ear. It gave another roar as Daring Do grabbed the ring, the beard falling off. The ring, Daring Do. Give it to me. He roared, jumping at her to get it. Daring Do easily dodged him, landing not too far away. Now, Ahuitzotl, you know I love you, but I can't give you the ring till I've properly proposed, Daring Do mocked. Rainbow snickered silently, as Lapis looked on in concern. Interesting, because my friends here have a proposal of their own, Ahuitzotl replied, his tail snapping its fingers. Suddenly Lapis and Rainbow both saw a group of Ahuitzotl's fighters come forward. They all were a sort of cat, all aggressive, all ready to fight Daring Do. Each cat was different from the other, a tiger, a cheetah, a black panther, a lynx, and even a small white pussy cat. Bring it! The panther attacked first, lunging forward with claws out and teeth bared. However, Daring made the ultimate uppercut on the panther, the cat skidding to the ground. The tiger charged over next, but Daring Do jumped up and slammed its head in the dirt with her back hoof. Rainbow and Lapis continued watching the fight from afar, the tables turning on Daring Do as the cats were acting more vicious. While Lapis grew more worried as she watched, Rainbow had enough of watching and took action. Eat hoof, kitty! Rainbow yelled, flying in and hitting the tiger before it got to Daring Do. Daring Do herself didn't expect, nor wanted, to see the Pegasus return again. However, she didn't have time to say much of anything, the cats all over her and Rainbow. Awitsodel growled upon seeing that Daring Do had a partner that time around. However, Awitsodel turned around and noticed Lapis within the bushes, watching the whole thing from afar. Both Pegasi kicked and bucked wildly as each cat tried to get to them. However, suddenly they all heard a scream coming from nearby, only to find Lapis Lazuli in the grip of Awitsodel, the tail hand around her neck. That distracted them both just long enough for Rainbow and Daring Do to be grabbed and tied up almost immediately. The two tried to get themselves free, but the cats picked them up and started going off, as Lapis was thrown aside by Awitsodel, the gem landing on the ground. The two struggled, but as Lapis got up, she saw Rainbow and Daring Do being carried away by the big cats, Awitsodel heading off with them. Lapis felt a tear go down her face as she saw them go. Poor Lapis Lazuli sat down and brought her forehead to her knees. She stayed like that for a good hour after Rainbow and Daring Do were taken away. While no one seemed to be there, back in Beach City with the movie, the three crystal gems saw that Lapis looked simply miserable. The three still were a bit unsure on her, given she was released by Steven from the mirror, but still, seeing her like that, at the very least, was getting to Pearl. Even if it wasn't Steven in trouble, seeing her lose her friends was enough to tug on heartstrings. Discord, who was at that point by the kitchen fridge, getting some extra snacks for the good part, floated over back to them, seeing the reaction on their faces. Oh my. Feeling a bit worried over her? Here I thought you'd be happy to see another gem like her crying, Discord commented, taking some bites of his own snacks. They didn't say anything, but Garnet had enough of his comments. They care about other gems, and Discord's making it sound like they hate every other gem because of one example. Garnet got up and turned to Discord. Discord. I need to see her. Maybe after the movie Discord. Garnet's voice made Discord a bit startled, as his snacks ended up scattered on him and on the bed. We do care about other gems. If you won't take us there, then can you at least do something? Garnet asked, not looking at the Draconequus. Discord gave a yawn, cleaning up the snacks with his tongue, gross, before he suddenly disappeared. The group tried to look around for where the heck he ended up, until, back on the TV, they saw that Lapis Lazuli had a shadow hovering over her. Lapis Lazuli looked up for a brief moment, and noticed something floating down to her from above with a small umbrella. Having a rough time, my dear? Lapis watched in confusion, as the figure landed gently, and making the umbrella disappear. Who are you? Lapis asked, through small tears. She wasn't too sure about this sudden appearance by Discord, as the Draconequus laid down beside her. Oh, that's not important. Now, a little bummed down, are we? Discord asked. Lapis groaned a little bit, and brought her head back to her knees. Should she share her feelings with this guy? Discord thought for a moment, and coiled gently around her. Sure, he could forget it, but the crystal gems wanted him to do something, and can see him anyway. Plus, there's a number of factors against him, the main six, the elements of Harmony, Steven and Lapis herself, and once more, his only role in this movie being a jerk will not sweet him. Now, there's no need to not trust, just a quick whisper is all you need, Discord said, his ear by her head. What did she got to lose? Lapis Lazuli sighed miserably, and answered him. I just watched my friend get captured, and it's all my fault. Happy now? Lapis said grimly. Discord uncoiled her, giving her space to breathe. A little quick to blame yourself, aren't you? Quick to put the blame on you just so you can't blame others? Course, you're not the only one to jump to conclusions, Discord commented, his mind trailing off a little bit. But it's true, I just stood aside, and got myself captured. Discord ended up shrinking himself, now standing on Lapis' shoulder like a parrot, leaning on her head. Correction, they got captured. Still, you think that every pony, and everybody will blame you. Far as I recall, all 10 took you in. 10? Now the confusion was evident. There's the main six, and Stephen for the most part. There isn't any more that she could recall other than. Suddenly, she realized what he meant, but didn't believe him. No, you're wrong. They don't care about me. They knew where I was, and they did nothing but kept me away. Lapis said, her voice turned to pained yelling. The crystal gems watching knew what she meant. Despite the situation, Discord actually chuckled, as he leaned into Lapis' ear. Now look who's jumping to conclusions. Lapis tried to slap him off, but Discord dodged it easily. However, she realized he was right. Here she is, jumping on the idea that the crystal gems knew she was in that mirror, and stuck with it. Course, she never mentioned it to anyone other than at that moment. You know, maybe you are onto something. How close of a bond you share with your dear friends, and yet here you are calling yourself worthless for letting her end up caught. Who knows? Maybe you are onto something, Discord accused through a sly smile. Lapis couldn't believe him. Just a minute ago, he said she was jumping to conclusions, and here he is agreeing with her accusations. She felt horrible, but she got up and turned away from Discord. You're wrong. I'm not worthless. Perhaps I didn't stop Rainbow from being captured. But, I can save her now, Lapis said. Her wings extended back out, and with one motion, was airborne. Discord waved goodbye to Lapis as she flown off. Amethyst, Pearl, and Garnet watched Discord suddenly disappear, and pop up behind them, with a large soda in his talon. It was as if he didn't do anything at all. However, the three gems didn't say or do anything, as Discord sipped his drink. Oh, this is my favorite part. The next morning, Awitsodel was easily dealing with Daring Do and Rainbow Dash. After capturing them, Awitsodel had got them in the most unlikely scenario. Both of them were locked up on a wall of what seemed to be a pit. Under them both, a water pit full of ravenous piranha with razor-sharp teeth. Alongside them was rotating spikes, and to their wall on their right was the platform Awitsodel was watching them from. Surrender now, Awitsodel, or I'll be forced to take you down, Daring Do yelled. All that did was make Awitsodel laugh. Oh, Daring Do, I will so miss your amusing laughter jokes. Now, I must leave to commence the ring-placing ceremony to unleash 800 years of unrelenting, sweltering heat. Awitsodel announced, holding the ring as pure mockery. Awitsodel laughed and walked away, his tail pulling a lever so more water will go into the pit under them. Both ponies struggled in their binds, but couldn't get themselves loose. Daring Do looked to Rainbow Dash, anger on her face. She knew that Rainbow's involvement got her into this mess, and damaged her own leg. Don't say it, I know I messed up, Rainbow said, before Daring Do could say it herself. I was acting so stupid, I just wanted to help so you can get your book finished without any delay, and now look what happened. I shouldn't have come to your house. If I left you alone, we wouldn't be in this mess, Rainbow admitted. She can be tactless, but she's not that naive to not know what consequences come with her actions. Daring Do tried pulling on her bind some more, suddenly getting both her bottom hooves free. Look, Rainbow, is it? Grunt, I don't mind Grunt too much that you're trying to help, but Grunt Daring Do suddenly got her other hoof free, dangling by one hoof over the rising piranha-filled water. Daring Do looked up at Rainbow Dash. I work alone, and I'm sure you know how much danger I get into, with Awitsodel and all that. Dash, the final rock started to slip. I just don't want anybody else to end up in these problems like I do. You really think I don't care about what you're trying to do? I'm the one that should apologize. I should have told you at the start. Well, that explains it. Every time Daring would refuse for anyone to go with her, be it in the books or in real life, it was because she didn't want anyone else to risk their lives. Even so, Rainbow knew she had to do something now, and help make up from the past. Rainbow struggled more and more, her wings flapping around for some extra power, as Daring's final block started to slip. Either Daring will fall first, or they both fall in and get diced up by the piranhas. As they struggled, both Pegasus were unaware of what was about to happen. After a few more struggles, Daring Do's final block slipped out completely, as she fell towards the watery grave under her. Rainbow closed her eyes, unable to watch as her hero fell to the water. However, a blue blur suddenly rushed in from the skylight, and Daring Do was caught at the last second. That same force also grabbed Rainbow Dash and pulled her out. When they both looked up to see who it was, Lapis. Rainbow gasped. Lapis Lazuli placed them both onto the platform, the gem helping them in avoiding their death. Daring Do and Rainbow Dash turned to Lapis Lazuli, the gem grateful that they're all right. Thanks, Lapis, Rainbow Dash said. As Lapis helped Rainbow with her binds, Daring Do just managed to get herself out, now that she had a better hoof hold. After the two were freed, Rainbow turned to Daring Do. "Look, I'm sorry for intruding into your business. I just got freaked out about the backup, and I wanted to handle whatever was stopping you. Rainbow, I know you're trying to help, but like I said, I don't want an pony in danger thanks to my own problems. Now, you two go while you can, I have to handle Awitsodel before he finishes that ceremony," Daring Do said, starting to walk on ahead. "Before they could though." "That might be a problem," Rainbow said. "What are you talking about? You're free, right?" "Well, yeah, but my friends got the same idea, they're coming to stop Awitsodel." That's when Daring Do stopped. "Have I mentioned yet that I work alone? Have I mentioned yet that you're lucky I don't?" added Rainbow, pointed to Lapis Lazuli. Daring Do, for the first time, actually smiled towards them. A spur of determination went over her. "Let's go." In the main room, Awitsodel was currently working on the next main ceremony. He was on a platform, with a large monument of rings of varying sizes, the last one in his hand. Also, a number of other ponies were lined up for the ceremony, all holding spears and hitting their hooves on the ground in a rhythmic fashion. 2 ponies held the ring, ready to put it in, as Awitsodel laughed in victory. He felt very good, so close with finishing his goal, when, "Drop the ring, Ahui, whatever your name is." Every pony in the room saw the main 6 suddenly appear, ready for the battle. Stephen was also with them, also ready himself. Place the ring, quickly," Awitsodel ordered. However, Pinky quickly took action, and got the ring away from the 2 ponies, doing some hula hoop action, before it was tossed away. "Get it." Then it began. First one to catch it was Stephen, who quickly began to run as fast as he could, as another pony chased after him. Before he could catch him, Stephen saw Rarity open, and tossed it like a frisbee towards her. However, one of the guards quickly caught it, and tried to throw it to Awitsodel. Still, the main 6 was ready, and Applejack knocked it away, it landing on Twilight's horn. Awitsodel quickly gave chase as the game of keep away continued on for a while in the mayhem. As this was going on, Lapis, Daring, and Rainbow arrived on the scene, and noticed the area away from the rings was forgotten about. "If we can remove the giant ring at the bottom, the whole fortress will collapse." "Come on," Daring said, flying over with Lapis and Rainbow Dash, as they began to pull on the rings. There was no time for any real thinking, with all the mayhem going on. One by one, the rings were removed, each one getting heavier and heavier for the 3 to handle. As each ring was removed, the keep-away game over the final ring was becoming more desperate, different sides tossing it to one another, trying to avoid it getting into the hooves of their opponent. However, in a desperate attempt, Stephen, having the ring, quickly tossed it as 3 of the guards surrounded him, and Awitsodel ended up catching it. Awitsodel laughed, and was about to put it on, only to find every other ring almost removed. "Stop her," Awitsodel ordered. But, it was too late. Together, Lapis, Rainbow Dash, and Daring Do lifted the final ring from the pole. After that, the feeling of an earthquake started to come around, as the temple started to collapse. "Ponies, run! This place is going down," Lapis yelled through a strained voice. They didn't need to be told twice, as everyone raced off out of there as fast as they could. Since they were flying, Lapis, Rainbow, and Daring just took the skylight out. Awitsodel tried to catch them, but was inches away, as they escaped. The main 6, the Gems, and Daring Do, all got out just before the entire temple collapsed. The only one left inside was Awitsodel, who was still alive. "Daring Do, I will have my revenge." Awitsodel's voice echoed up to them, as they kept flying. With a nod, the 3 all let go of the ring, and the ring itself shattered upon impact with the ground. Mission complete. The tape had finished up on a black screen, as it began to automatically rewind and eject. Amethyst, Garnet, and Pearl were a bit enthralled by everything. After everything, Amethyst gave her round of applause by the end of it. "Awesome," Amethyst said. "A fine movie indeed," Discord replied. Pearl and Garnet thought it over for quite a while. Throughout the whole thing, Lapis Lazuli didn't seem to be very dangerous. In fact, she was very sweet towards everyone, including Stephen himself. As for Stephen, he seemed to be doing pretty good in Equestria, alongside Lapis. While him being chased around by Awitsodel's ponies, other than that, he was doing okay. And all the time they were looking for him, they thought he was in big danger with Lapis around. "Well, that was a lovely movie. Here, you can keep my copy," Discord said, giving the empty case to them. With a nice goodbye wave, Discord suddenly disappeared. "So much for asking him. However, as Amethyst was holding, she found that there was something in it. When she looked, she pulled out something else for them. Keys. 3 magic keys. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video make sure to like and leave a comment and share it with a friend. See you all later.